Hey guys, what's up? This is Panzer Dragon, and today I want to be talking about 7 differences between challengers and other divisions. These 7 differences are going to be key points. This isn't going to be really some video where I say, oh, if you just keep playing, you'll get better at the game. Or, oh, if you're on a losing streak, and take a break and play later. I'm going to give you 7 big things that I think is what makes a challenger a challenger. So let's begin. Alright, so the first step is we don't take risks. Alright, so let's define what a risk is and give an example. Alright, so risks are something that you don't want to take, as there's a possibility of it backfiring. Alright, next I will give 3 perfect examples of risks that we don't really take. So let's say you're playing top lane, and let's say your team relayed information that the enemy jungler was topside. That should change your playstyle a bit as you want to play defensively, even though let's say that if you trade with the enemy, you'll win that trade. But do you want to take the risk on the enemy jungler ganking you? Probably not, so you want to play less aggressive and a bit more passive. Alright, another example. Alright, so let's say we win a team fight and then we're going for their towers and eventually we get their inhibitor. What do? We recall and go back to base and buy our items. Now the risk here that some people would take is, maybe we can get some more kills if they come out of their base, maybe we can catch some people. So they stick around and what ends up happening is, well, they could get some kills and end up getting away, or they just lose the fight and throw their lead a bit, causing the game to overextend. And again, you're taking a big risk for such a little reward. Alright, so another example, split pushing. So let's say you're going down top lane and you're going to try and get their tower or something. So you do see that your enemy is staying in his lane, but you notice on the map that you see T-Poo MIA. Now do you keep split pushing or do you back off? Do you want to take the risk of getting ganked when you're 1v1ing the enemy? Or are you just going to back off until you see them on the map? And so honestly, this is probably the biggest point, is not taking risks. We really don't take a lot of risk and play the game really safely. We want to ensure that we always consistently have a lead, and so we don't want to throw and give an enemy some sort of advantage. Alright, so let's say your team is way ahead and then all of a sudden the enemy gets Baron somehow. Do you still want to take the risk of fighting them with Baron, or would you rather play it safely and wait out the Baron and then fight them? The most consistent idea is to probably wait out Baron and then fight them. Alright, so let's say you're doing Baron and an enemy jungler is trying to Baron steal it. Everyone in Challenger knows that if you're doing Baron, someone has to zone off the enemy jungler, because we do not want the risk of the enemy jungler trying to steal Baron. And so usually someone will fend off the enemy jungler and keep him away so that they don't smite Baron and steal it. This way there's a really low risk that the enemy team will get Baron. Alright, so number 2, we know how to close games. Or in other words, that means we know how to keep an early game lead and to snowball our advantage. This is why you only see junglers like Lee Sin and Lee Sin high elo. Sure, you can play Farmville junglers like Warwick, who scales really good into the mid game and late game. But if the other jungler's doing work and snowballing those lanes and getting out of early game quickly, will your team ever get to that mid game, late game stage? Probably not, since we know how to snowball a lead. Another example is, we know how to play our comp right. Let's say we have Ziggs and Caitlyn. That means all we have to do is siege towers and disengage if the enemy tries to initiate, and just get objectives by playing the team comp right. And another example is after we get the Baron buff, we don't waste it, as in everyone follows this procedure where they recall, buy their shit, get their buffs, and then head straight down the lane that's pushing. Like everyone knows we have the advantage, so we gotta push our advantage with the Baron buff. Simply put it, we group 5, come up with a plan, and then play how our comp is needed to play. That's why like 30% of the games go up to 20 to 25 minutes in Challenger and are just face roll. Alright, so next up is we abuse OP champions. In Season 3, I used to abuse Evelyn. When she got her rework, she was really strong. And then I just spammed her and no one really actually realized to ban her. And then so when I used her, I just climbed really high and got to a point where I was playing with the big leagues. And another champion I abused was Xin Zhao. Right when he got his rework, he was super strong, and yeah, every time I was first pick, or if I got my jungle, I would ask for Xin Zhao, and I completely abused him and just spammed him. I actually climbed a lot in the ladder, and I got to high diamond. And so if you just abuse OP champions, I guarantee you, you will climb a lot faster. Alright, so number 4, we do have very good shot calls. This has similarities with the reason that we know how to close games, but let's go ahead and let's elaborate on this point. So what is a shot call? A shot call is something like giving an order to your team, and then they just follow the order and go with it. Now let's give some examples of shot calling. So let's say your enemy jungler who is level 10 ganks top, and you are bot side. What do you do? What do you do? You're probably going to start dragon. In the end, you're probably both going to take objectives. So you trade your top tower for the dragon. Or like say mid game we are ahead and we want to get Baron control, so we start putting pinks and sweeping around the Baron to bait Baron, and then the enemy will eventually want to come, so we get a pick off that. And then we can either push mid or get Baron off that To sum it up, if you have really good decision making, you are going to be really good at the game. And of course, if these decisions do come naturally and instinctively, you won't dance around thinking what should I do next, and of course, time is a valuable resource. Every second in the game does count, so remember that. Alright, so number 5, people don't get caught out often, or basically a very high map awareness. Alright, so this is like the concept of like overextending, not being in places where you don't have ward coverage, or like getting picked off by like LeBlanc. Obviously that does kind of happen, but not as often as you would think. Or like another example is like say Twitch is MIA, and say I'm playing like someone like Lucian, I'll take that in consideration. Like if I'm solo pushing bot lane even with wards to cover me, I won't overextend until I see Twitch on the map, just because there's a possibility that he's looking to pick me off. Or let's say we're gonna pick someone off, it's very calculated that we know that they can't get away if we come to this area, as we do have game knowledge. Like an example is like if they have an escape, we'll take that in consideration when we're trying to pick him off. Or of course if his summoners are down, that's a huge consideration too. But yeah, it's just like really good game knowledge of what we know what the enemy can do to us if a certain situation comes up, so we don't take the risk of dying to that case. And that's why in like really high elo, you'll see a lot of wards everywhere, so that we don't take the risk of getting caught out by the enemy team. Alright, so number 6, we are super objective based. As you can see, we do value buffs, dragons, towers, and Baron a lot. And in our mind, we prioritize those things a lot over kills because we know that their value is worth a lot. And like the only reason to get kills really, at least early-ish mid-game, is to get objectives, because if you get kills, you're going to get control over objectives. That's why picks are really important, that's why sieging is really important, and of course that's why vision control is important. And that's why rotating to a place where an enemy is not is important, because now you have control over that objective. Or like an example in lower ELO, let's say a team is chasing 1 or 2 people, and the other team is pushing lanes. They can either help the teammates who are getting caught off, or say if they are near an objective, say a tower, they can just get that tower and trade off that tower for the 2 kills, and it's all equal as long as the enemy doesn't get an objective after chasing those 2 enemies. And hopefully you guys get this mindset of being super objective based. Alright, so next up is we think about every possibility. So let's say the enemy has Fiddlesticks on their team. We can't really siege onto Fiddle because we know that he'll just pop out and kill us all. And so if we don't have vision of him, then we can't siege. Or just hard engaging onto an enemy team without vision of Fiddlesticks. As if he gets a really good ulti, then we all lose the team fight. Another example is Pantheon just hit level 6 or is about to hit level 6. This means there's a high possibility that he wants to come bottom with his ultimate, and so our bot lane will know that and either play extremely passive until they see him on the map, or ask for a counter gank from their jungler. So even if they don't see it, they can think about the possibility of Pantheon coming bottom. Another example is, say we don't have vision of Baron, and the enemy jungler, top, and I guess AD carry are MIA, there is a possibility that they are doing Baron, so we want to face check it or something and ward it. This is why Baron sneaks don't happen that often in Challenger, as people might get a sense that the enemy team is doing it, so they do want to check it when they think there's a possibility that they are doing it. Now, to conclude this video, as you can see, a lot of this video has to do with decision making, and some people have a perception that if you want to be really good at the game, you have to have good mechanics, which is simply untrue. I can only play Lee Sin to a certain extent, and I know there are Diamond 5, 4, 3s who are better at Lee Sin than me, but the reason I surpass them with skill level is because I have superior decision making. Also, the biggest reason why I think I'm Challenger is because I don't take a lot of risks. Being really consistent can help you at winning the game. Like, I am actually really bad at smiting. That is a mechanical part on me, and so like I said earlier, I don't like to take the risk of having the enemy jungler around when they can smite it, and so I would never do it if the enemy jungler is up unless somehow they can zone them. And honestly, if you really want to improve on decision making, being consistent, and whatever else I just said, just analyze your mistakes, see what you're doing wrong, and how you could have prevented that. This is how I learned to become, like top 100 in Challenger. Because like I said before, when I got to Diamond playing the OP champs, I didn't realize what I was doing wrong. I was just going instinctively and just going in and doing whatever. But once I understood what I was doing wrong and seek to improve myself, that's how I kept getting better and better. And honestly, I just saw a pattern in my skill level. As I kept analyzing mistakes, I stopped doing them and I took less risks. And right now, I'm actually a really consistent player. And now when I play a solo queue game, I don't take a lot of unnecessary risks like I did before. And now I just play super standard and play out the game how it was supposed to be. So hey, thank you for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please like my video, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time.